let's talk about building and your philosophies, just let's give us some tidbits about, if you're taking a class, the kind of things you express when it comes to, building style. And a lot of people are incredibly traditional and they don't deviate from the norm.
Right.
On classicals, they make them exactly the way with
Right.
the hide glues and all.
Right.
Others are more, in the radical space where they're looking at fan fretting and with off-brace styles and so forth. Where do you fit in that?
Everything is valid.
Yeah.
Unlike the violin family that has evolved to where it's probably going to evolve, the guitar hasn't. It's still evolving. There's still more that we can get from that instrument. And I mean, I consider myself a traditionalist because I build traditional fan bracing classical guitars and X-brace steel string guitars. And it kind of goes back to when I was in music school. I could have gone the electric route and read the manuals, or I could have gone the traditional route and started playing. Same thing in building. The traditional fan bracing and the X bracing, I don't think I can exhaust all of the possibilities in my lifetime of where I can evolve, where I can take that to. Now, I've done the composite double tops, I've done that carbon fiber, I've done it, sure, why not? That's how I make my living, I got to know about that kind of stuff. My heart lies in the traditional acoustic, and that's what I built, the classical and the acoustic Martin X brace.
And same thing with finishing. I know you do a lot of French polish.
Done it all.
You're pretty standard when it comes to.
I've done it all. My classical guitars, because of the price bracket I'm in, guys expect French polish. And so French polish on my classical guitars. Now occasionally I'll do a urethane or lacquer back and sides, French polish top, just to have the protective abilities or protectiveness of the resins. On my steel string guitars, because of the marketability, once again, high gloss lacquer or urethane or UV cured, something like that.
It's got to shine.
Yep, I've done it all.
And you're mostly you take your designs from a Hauser, from a Torres. I mean, where do you see that coming from? Is it pretty?
I
you
guess.
Have your own thing going? Or?
Well, I mean, it's not exactly the Hausers, not exactly the Torres. It's my own design, but classical guitars deviate very, very little. I mean, we're talking millimeters. So, I've tried deeper bodies, shallower bodies. 2-3 more millimeters on the waist to the end block, or the heel block to the end block, but it deviates very, very little from the traditional size and shape. I don't do the typical Ramirez Geronimo, big, robust, you can drive a truck under the action kind of thing, 660, 665. I don't do that. I do a traditional 650. But I would say it's traditional. But I'm not opposed to experimentation. And a lot of my students over the years, they would show up, with $3,000 set of rosewood and this and that, and I'm saying, look, let's do the basic math before we do the algebra. And so I would encourage them to start with the basics. And then if they want to play the guitar by the head, or when they're jumping off the amplifiers, okay, but learn to play sitting first.
What about wood choices and rosette things? I mean, I know there's certain people that everything but the truss rod potentially is handmade kind of a thing.
Right.
Even that can be.
Most of what I do is handmade, and that's one of the things that in my online course I try and emphasize hand tools. First of all, there's a lot of guys around the world who don't have access to the power tools that we have here in the States, and so being able to build with the hand tools is important. Not only that, I think it's a talent, it's an art to be able to take something from here and out through the arm and into the chisel and produce it. And so I like the hand tool aspect to it. I'm not opposed to power tools. I got to make a living. I got to produce. So I do some of that. But everything on my guitar is handmade. Except from I've done some handmade rosettes over the years. Most of my rosettes I bought about 20 years ago from a guy in Brazil, a Luthier in Rio that was going out of business. So I made a trip to Rio from Sao Paulo, and he had ordered 100 classical, his own design from Japan. And so I bought them, pennies on the dollar, and I'm still going through those. So I've got a lot of those left. So I don't necessarily need to make my own rosette. I think it's cool. It's where the builder can add his mark to the guitar. But I mean, we have to make a living. You have to produce.
Right.
And for $20, there's a rosette. It's pretty tempting. But I like the aspect of producing your own rosettes as well.
Yeah. And inlay and things like that? Do you dabble in that at all?
Sure, yeah. I mean, not a lot on the classical guitar because it's just not traditional to see, bling on your guitar. On the steel string guitars, occasionally I'll do some. What I have figured out though is the more bling on your guitar, the harder it is to sell. That's an interesting.
Really?
That's a hard lesson I learned. I've done inlay and marquetry and all that kind of stuff. Those guitars took me longer to sell. The traditional cutaway dark woods sounds great.
Right.
That's what guys want. And I like to get the guitars into the working musician, the working man hands.
Sure.
And the more you bling, like it's harder for the guys to have access to them.
I find just, if people, having that skill to be able to do it if someone asks for it.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
a lady asked me to do some kind of flowers or something like that
Sure.
she wanted, and I'm like, yeah,
Well, these days, and in fact, I was in Atlanta in December with Kent Everett. We filmed a master class on how to do the arm bevel. In fact, we have a DVD coming out here in another month or so on that. And one of the things he said in the class is back in the 80s, the thing that benefited the independent builder from the factories was that the independent builder could take the time to cut the mother pearl, the abalone, and do the curly haired girls and that kind of stuff in inlay. Now with the CNC router, the factories are doing it. So what can you do to distinguish yourself as a builder from the factories? Well, one of the things, and this is not necessarily the case, it's changing quickly, is the arm bevel. Add an arm bevel on there. So
Cool.
Stay tuned, it's coming out in a month.
I would say we talked about before, wood preference. I know,
Oh, wood
some
preference,
people
yeah.
come in with, $1,200 back and sides.
Yeah, and it promptly break the sides. No, I'm pretty much a tradition in the classical sense because that's what guys expect. So either Brazilian or Indian rosewood. I just finished up a Brazilian there that I'm taking to the Hellsberg show. It's just a fantastic guitar. Oh my God, I'm very, very happy with that one. It has a small tornavos in there too, which is kind of a modern day approach to the tornavos I'm doing. So I'll do stuff like that. But Indian rosewood, Brazilian rosewood, spruce or cedar, cedar necks, pretty basic. Rosewood bridge, rosewood binding. On the steel string guitars, generally rosewood or mahogany, spruce tops, mahogany necks. Pretty basic stuff. Ebony
You find
fretboard.
yourself more spruce on the
On the steel strings?
No, on the what's your think your ratio between? Because I get a lot of people who want that immediate warm tone of cedar versus.
Are we talking classical or steel
Yeah,
string here? Classical. My first 20 guitars or so were cedar tops.
Yeah.
I played a cedar top in college. I really enjoyed the cedar top. And I had dialed in my tone. And then one day, a guy asked me for a spruce top guitar. Well, I didn't have much experience with spruce tops. I thought, well, sure, I'll learn. And so I over the next years or so, I've built another 15 or 20 spruce top classical and dialed that in. Okay, so now I've got a good grasp of the tone of those cedar and classical. I think I'm more partial to spruce these days. Yeah, I don't know why. Hey, Thiago, come on in. Bing. This is my son, Thiago.
How you doing?
Hello.
This is Brian.
Hey, Brian.
What's up?
And we're doing a little interview. This is Thiago, the hockey
Where'd you
player.
get the chocolate?
Hockey player.
Mom gave it to us. When she gets home, I bet you could have a piece.
I'm gonna be outside mode.
One of the other problems of working in your own home, this is my basement shop, I got almost 1,000 square feet here, is you wake up in the middle of the night, well, where do you go? You can't sleep. You don't watch TV, you come downstairs. I'll work in the middle of the night or,
You know how many times I woke up in the middle of the night and said, I know how to fix that problem. I was
Exactly.
you just come down.
You know the feeling. Now, if your shop is separate from your home, you got to get the car and go over there. So yeah, it's a problem, especially in the evening. You put in a long day, and in the evening you eat dinner, and there's nothing on TV these days, just garbage. Where do you go? You come back to the shop.
Yeah. 24 hours.
Yeah.
All right, so pretty standard stuff. So you're more of a spruce guy now. It's funny because
As a player,
I'm
kind of more of a spruce, and maybe that's the Romanides influence because I went to Spain and studied Romanides, and so I like the spruce sound. I like the trebles.
I see you get a lot more pop out of it.
Yeah, and it takes a little bit of time to break in, but
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm performing on a spruce top now these days.
Nice. And so you're not doing anything electric?
I do some. I've got some students. In fact, we're just finishing a couple with a father-son team that are coming from Longmont. They drive down on the weekends, and we started the last week of December. And with my teaching schedule, it's kind of been hit and miss. On May 4th, they're coming in, and we've already sprayed everything, so we're gonna hook everything up and install the neck, and hopefully be making music on the 4th.
Nice. But that's small compared to...
It's very small. I mean, I've got a DVD on how to do it, but I mean, heck, you can string up a 2x4 and put pickups in it, and you got a guitar.
That's true.
So, the one I enjoy building the most is the classical. Now, perhaps that's because I'm a classical player. So I enjoy the classical.
You've been teaching so much, but at the same time finding your own, say, Luthier voice, or
Sure, yeah.
you know, what are you looking for? I mean, I know talk to a lot of builders and so forth, and they're striving to find that sound or that tone or that combination of something. I mean, are you obsessed by looking into stuff like that or not?
I just try and make the guitar the best that I can possibly do. I mean, better than the previous one. And so far, everyone's been better. I've been very blessed in that area. Kent Everett also taught me something when I was studying with him, is that in the English language, we have a huge vocabulary for describing a glass of fine wine. But we do not have vocabulary for describing sound. So when you talk about tone, that's so subjective. What is tone?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Okay.
And the same tone you hear is not the same.
Exactly, and the tone, if
Right.
you know, that I like as a player may be different than what you like. I've had guys pick up my guitar and say, "Nah, it's not the guitar for me." Another guy pick it up and says, "Man, it's the best guitar I've ever played." You know, go
Is
figure.
it about playability or is it about sound?
It's a complete package. I mean, it's the visual, it's the feel. I mean, it's the whole 9 yards. I go for more of a traditional sound. I like my guitars to be easily played. There's no effort or not as much effort. I mean, you don't have to work. I've had guys come into my shop and say, "Man, my guitar is just so much effort." I mean, professional players, man, I can't take this. It's work. And then they grab one of my guitars and, "Oh, this feels good." Yeah, it's very easily played. So I shoot for the easy playability. The tone, I know what I like. I try and build for what I like, obviously. I don't know if that's the best thing business-wise, because you should be building for your client.
Right.
Now, hopefully the client comes to me because they've heard my guitar or played my guitar and they want one like that. And I feel very comfortable I can reproduce that.
But if someone came to you and said, "Look, I'm looking for a specific something," because of the skills you had, the hundreds of guitars you've built yourself or with students, it's easier for you to go, "Okay, well then, we need to go in this direction, or we need to do a little bit more on this
Okay,
side."
I have an idea. Over the years, I've been able to refine things. And a lot of guys, when they first start building, they think, "Okay, if I take this brace and turn it 2 degrees this way, it's going to give me more treble, it's going to give me more bass." It doesn't work like that. When I was in Spain studying with Romanitas, he told me a very interesting story. Now, Romanitas has built hundreds of guitars over there. He's been at it for over 50 years. He's very humble. And during the course, he said, "I never really know what I'm going to get until I put the top on, get it done, and guitar's built." Holy cow, he's been at it for 50 years. So I would like to say, "Oh, yeah, no problem. Oh, this is the sound you want? Boom, I can do
That's how they do
it."
it.
But I never really know until I get the guitar completed. That's...
I mean, every time I talk to people about this subject, because I like getting people's take on the
Sure, yeah.
it goes everywhere. You know, people really know how to focus in on a tone. Other people like, you know, you get the same exact piece of spruce top cut from the same billet, and you put it together, and it's just
different.
It's different.
I mean, you can build 3 guitars, same specs.
Yep,
They're all different.
that's right. So it's just interesting to hear, you know, even someone who's been building for 50 years or whatever. So
Yeah, I'd love to say, yeah, I know exactly. Oh, you know, I can do this for you. And tell me what you want, I'll do it. No, I don't think I can say that. Now, here's what I can say. I'm very consistent with the tone I do get. I can reproduce that. Now, whether or not you're going to like that, I don't know. I like it. I think they're getting better and better. This thing about voicing the instrument, and I always tell my students this when we did the voicing classes, the voice of the instrument was predetermined when you chose the size and shape of the guitar, whether acoustic or classical or steel string or classical, and the materials. Now, within that small window, you can slow the target down and have a chance of hitting the bullseye within that small window. That will never sound like a banjo. It's not its voice. Okay, so the voicing aspect, I don't really like that name.
yeah. The night that you mentioned just now, and I think I saw you do a write-up on this and so forth, you went to Spain and and took a class. So even though you've been doing this for how many years, you're still
15 now.
You're still taking classes. You're still trying to learn.
Sure. Yeah. And I learn from every one of my students. Well, I mean, the 500 guitars that I built with the students up at the school, I mean, that's a lot of experimentation. And one of the good things for me as an instructor and for the students, if you take a class in a group setting rather than working on your own, you got 20 or 30 guys standing around and you're all passing tops around. So you get a very quick working definition of what stiff and loose is and what cedar and spruce are. And it's a cool thing for that group situation.
Right.
Now, and I've benefited from that from my students. Now, I mean, I don't think when I die, I still have more to learn. And so I'm constantly doing research on the internet and talking to guys and builders. And fortunately enough, I've got a little bit of a name now, so I can call people up and say, hey, and people will answer my questions. Wow, it didn't always used to be that way. But yeah, I learned a lot that way. And this past year, I had the opportunity of going and studying with Jose Ramonides. And man, what a great experience. I mean, I learned a lot. I built a lot of guitars. I'm still learning.
And I think you told me the story about that, how he trying to get in and talk to him and try to get hooked up with a class is kind of a
I was
challenge.
on the list in 2006 to go take his course, and this time it was at the monastery there in Spain. And my wife was due to give birth to my daughter, and just a few weeks after that. And so I said, hey, I'm on the list. I'm going to Spain. She looked at me like I had two heads. So I had to cancel. That was the last class he gave. The monastery was sold. I missed my opportunity. I thought, well, once in a lifetime, I'll never have that chance again. Well, this last year, one of my students at the college said, hey, I'm going to Spain to study with Jose. I said, how'd that happen? And he said, I don't know. I got on a mailing list. I emailed him, and I said, well, how did I get on the list? And so I sent an email to Jose, and he politely responded and said, I'm sorry, but the course is full. I just couldn't take no for an answer this time. I started making phone calls, and I contacted Monica Esparza in California. And she's written for the Guild and taken every course that Jose's offered. And I don't know how it happened. I don't know if she pulled the strings or what. The official story is I think somebody dropped out. And so I was able to get on the list. Fortunately, that happened. And man, what a great experience. I mean, not only the tourism aspect of it, but the knowledge and being able to meet Jose and his wife, Marianne. And wow, what a great deal. And I asked him if I could interview him for my YouTube channel. And did a series of interviews, and man, what a great experience.
That's awesome.
That's it. Once again, back to that aspect of free knowledge. And Jose, I plugged the microphone on him and just started asking questions like we're doing here, and he answered freely about all aspects of how he got into building and all that kind of stuff. And so it's all there for free.
Nice.
Take advantage of it. What does the future hold?
What do you think?
I don't know.
No?
I think the profession the craftsmen we're a dying breed, and we have been for many, many years. When I was in Brazil, when I first started in the early 80s going to Brazil, I mean, the Spaniards and the Portuguese, man, they were the masons and the tile setters, man, just extravagant work. It's a dying breed these days. First of all, people don't have the money to invest in it, and second of all, that we're a throwaway generation, where things are disposable. In the Luthier world, we have the environmental aspect. The Lacey Act,
Right.
CITES. Where's this going? Well, we have access to the materials we need to build these fine instruments. I had a guy a few years ago at the college. He was across the room. He brought in a guitar to do some repair on. I wandered over to his bench. Said, what are you working on? Oh, I'm working on this guitar. It looked like a beautiful mahogany back inside. Why don't we look at it? It was Formica. I said, holy cow, is this where we're going? Are we going to composites? Carbon fiber, Formica? I said, man, I think the next generation is really not going to know what a handcrafted fine wooden instrument is going to sound like. Maybe in the Library of Congress we'll have recordings of it one day. I don't know. As far as making a living at it, I mean, once again, it's tough. Getting access to the materials. I mean, it's an expensive hobby if you're doing it for a hobby. Most of us that get into this is for the love of it anyway, and we're not going to retire on rich doing this. It's a labor of love. I don't know. I mean, I like the experimentation going on, the carbon fiber, the double tops experimentation. Why not? Hopefully we can continue it, but we need to have access to the materials. That's going to be a major aspect of this.
There's been a lot of talk about that.
Yeah. I remember when I first met Kent Everett in the 90s, he introduced me to the Guild. And he said, hey, they've just come out with this book called The Big Red Book of Lutherie. And it was volume 1 at that time. That's how long ago this was. And so I bought it, and I had the opportunity to open it on the plane ride back to Sao Paulo. Out of Atlanta, it's probably 9-10 hours. So I had a lot of time to read. So I just randomly, I'm flipping through this thing, I open it up, and it opens up to one of the convention articles, and I think it was Kent Everett and a couple other guys on a panel, and they were talking about Lutherie as a business, how to make a living as a Luthier. Oh my God, I was almost crying when I got done reading this thing. I thought, what kind of garbage is this? I mean, instead of giving me encouragement, it was just saying, run while you can.
That's right. Yep.
And fortunately, I didn't do that. I'm a little crazy.
We're not all going to become Bob Taylors.
Exactly.
From that.
But it was very eye-opening and very discouraging about, hey guys, think twice about doing this.
Yeah, I was at that symposium, and I think one of the funniest things they said was there was a joke as a Luthier won the lottery. And they said, "What are you going to do now?" He said, "Well, I'm going to build guitars until the money runs out."
That's right. That's right.
That's about how it works. So
it's exactly how it works.
Yeah.
Now, I've been very blessed and very fortunate that people have tried to seek me out and want to pay me for my knowledge. Man, what a great position to be in.
yeah.
A guy in Brazil told me one time, old Korean acupuncturist that I studied with, he said, it doesn't matter what you do in life. He said, the main thing is to become good at what you do. Once you become good at what you do, other people will seek your services. And so in anything I've done in life, I've tried to do that, do it to the best of my ability, become very good at it. And I'm still learning at Lutherie, but I've arrived at enough of a level of knowledge that other people are seeking me out for what I'm able to give to them. That's a cool position to be in. It's humbling, but cool.
Yeah, that's a great way to end it.
Okay.
Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed this.